The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter. President Donald Trump has admitted that he provided the hush money used by attorney Michael Cohen to suppress the allegations of two women that had affairs with Donald Trump and invariably interfering with the election in 2016. Hello and welcome to Politics with GA. President Donald Trump's day of disaster is rapidly becoming one of the worst weeks of his presidency, while the Department of Justice cannot bring an action against him as sitting president. Midterm elections in Congress may just decide his fate, especially if the Democrats get lucky. The White House is turning up the defensive and putting their own spin. Obviously, they have recovered from the events that brought about the conviction of Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen entering a guilty plea. White House aides insist the president has done nothing wrong and, as we know, cannot be indicted.
And I'm not going to get into the back and forth details. I can tell you, as the president has stated on numerous occasions, he did nothing wrong. There are no charges against him in this. And just because Michael Cohen made a plea deal doesn't mean that that implicates the president on anything.
Mr. Trump has accused Michael Cohen of lying under the pressure of persecution and says the hush money paid to two women who alleged sexual encounters with him years ago was not a campaign violation because the money did not come from campaign funds. In a wide-ranging interview that aired on Thursday on Fox News, President Trump insisted he knew about the payments later on, contradicting his former lawyer's sworn statement that Donald Trump had directed him to make the payments. President Trump has previously denied any sexual liaisons with either women.
Did you know about the payments?
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me, and I tweeted about it. You know, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted about the payments. But they didn't come out of campaign. In fact, my first question when I heard about it was, did they come out of the campaign? Because that could be a little dicey.
At a court hearing in New York on Tuesday, Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 counts related to tax fraud, excessive campaign contributions, making false statements to a financial institution, and unlawful corporate contributions. In a separate federal court, Paul Manafort was found guilty on Tuesday on 8 out of 10 counts of tax fraud, 2 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of failing to file a foreign bank account. In a separate federal court, Paul Manafort was found guilty on Tuesday on 8 out of 10 counts of tax fraud, 2 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of failing to file foreign bank account reports. Listen to President Trump as he pulls a Trumpian classic.
I don't know how you can impeach somebody who's done a great job. I'll tell you what, if I ever got impeached, I think the market would crash. I think everybody would be very poor.
In the midst of all of this, everyone has just internalized that the president had affairs with a porn star and Playboy model right after he gave birth to his son and then paid for their silence. Now it's just back and forth about bank accounts and what's legal. As the White House continues to grapple with the fallout from multiple scandals this week, President Donald Trump appeared to be watching Fox News and frustrating international allies, this time around the Republic of South Africa. After Fox News host Tucker Carlson's segment on the South African government's land seizures, the president tweeted that he had instructed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to closely study the matter. That triggered a near immediate response from South Africa, with the government's official Twitter handle tagging Mr. Trump and writing, "South Africa totally rejects this narrow perception which only seeks to divide our nation and reminds us of our colonial past." Reacting on President Trump's comments, South African Foreign Affairs Minister Lindiwe Sisulu said it was regrettable that the tweet was based on false information. She also added that her department is to meet U.S. diplomats in Pretoria to seek clarification later in the day. Trekking, yes, trekking, walking. It's now a major topic in our national political discourse. The People's Democratic Party has told President Buhari that Nigerians will not be swayed by his claim that he walked 800 meters to demonstrate his health status and thereby ready for second term in office. The national chairman of the PDP, Uche Secondus, wondered why walking what it described as a mere 800 meters had become a thing of joy to warrant a statement from the presidency. Well, it didn't just warrant a statement from the presidency, but opened a whole national discussion on trekking. And trust social media not to miss out on this one with the Buhari challenge. Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has said there is a difference between walk and work. He said while he jogs more than a mile during his exercise, it will be too pedestrian of him to ask Nigerians to vote for him because of that. Still on the subject of trekking, one of the many excited men who allegedly trekked for the All Progressive Congress in 2015 has decided to trek again, but this time from Lagos to Abuja. It's protesting his disappointment that the major promise of the APC to create jobs has not been fulfilled. Mr. Mukaila said his action was not political, as it could be termed in some quarters, adding that he was not sponsored to embark on the trek. He also said he had not made up his mind on which party to pitch tents with ahead of the 2019 elections. He said, "Actually, I want to show my disappointment for this APC. As you can see, the youths of this country are very angry. APC promised us heaven on earth. They promised us 3 million jobs in a year. But now we don't even have 500,000 jobs in 4 years." Happy trekking and have a safe journey, Mr. Mukaila, as you make your journey from Lagos to Abuja. I recently spoke with Mr. Chidi Okoro of the All Progressive Grand Alliance on his decision to run for governorship of Imo State and other matters. Thanks for joining us on Politics with GA, Mr. Chidi Okoro.
Thank you very much.
Why have you decided to throw your heart into the gubernatorial elections for Imo State?
Yeah. I think first, I reserve that right. I'm Nigerian, I'm of age, and I'm interested to have Imo State do better. And I think one of the things I had done the last 5-6 years was take a close look at Imo and study some of the numbers, and the dynamics. And I think we do have big issues at hand, and no one seems to be addressing that. And when I look at my cousins and my uncles and my children, we want to build a better tomorrow. That's the reason I think I have to play a part to build a better tomorrow. And one way to play a big part is to get fully involved.
Yes, you're coming from a background in the private sector,
That's
and
right.
it's less turbulent than the murky waters of Nigerian politics. There's
right.
been recent murders in the political scene, APC chieftain, dead PDP.
That's right.
Are you concerned about your incursion into politics, knowing it's your first time?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have concerns, when you read what's happening in the paper. But I think the first thing is there's the issue of insecurity across Nigeria. That's big, including Imo State. That's it. So the murders, are they because of the politics? I don't know. It could be business. But I'm very concerned. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm also running. I'm running to see, can we change that tide? Can we take out the desperation? Can we change the narrative? Perhaps I probably could bring an idea that could help change that and make Nigeria more secure, especially Imo State more secure. So those murders won't happen as frequently again.
You've worked for some of the biggest fast-moving consumable goods companies in Africa, if not the world. How do you plan to bring your wealth of experience to the benefit of Imolites?
Because my background is a private sector predominantly. But before I go into that question, I also done a couple of things with government. You know, I was on the Ogun State Board for Security for 3 years, and I did make a lot of contribution to that. But let me explain, you know, the private institutions and public, they do have something in common. In private institutions, you have to deliver profit to your shareholders. I think in public organizations, you have to profit the people. And the means to do that are not varied. The difference is in the scale and complexity.
You need to account for your stewardship.
Absolutely. Can you apply the principles, you know, back in public? Yes, you can. And I think you can apply it in different ways. First of all, when we run organizations or private, we manage resources to achieve desired result. In public, it's not different. You know, the other thing is ability to prioritize, focus on the big few and deliver. In fact, in terms of accountability, it's a lot more in private than in public. In public, it's very easy to deliver on promise, even with all the complexities. In private, it's short term. You got to deliver it this week or next month or you're out. But in public, you do have a bit of a leeway to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then in private, as an executive, you get to choose your team.
Absolutely.
And what have you. You make life easier for yourself.
Absolutely.
That brings me to my next question.
That's right.
Governance is a different kettle of fish.
That's right.
From the private sector where you cut your teeth.
Yes. Yes.
You can't fire civil servants at will for underperformance, for mediocrity, and incompetence. These are some of the words you like to use a lot.
That's right.
And these are challenges you will face as chief executive of Imo State. How do you plan to overcome these obstacles?
I think the first thing is that I'm not going there to fire people. When you look at Nigeria, I think part of the issues we have, when you look at Imo State, we have big issue of our ability to optimize our limited resources.
But you're working with people that are stuck in their ways. You know how the civil services
and one of the things I have a strong experience in turning around people. Everyone got a good mind. Everyone got some skills, some talent we can optimize. My ability to turn it around is what might stand me out from the rest. My ability to turn around a lot of people. And in a team, if you can get 30% performing optimally, the other 70 can be average.
Carry the
and they can lift the other people. So that's what I'm going to try to bring. If you look at the issues we have, it's so clear, and I will probably come to that at some point in the interview. It's so clear, it's so snow white clear. Applying the right solutions can deliver absolutely a good result for the people. And I'm very clear on what those are.
Fantastic. Yeah. There's been several calls for zoning in Imo State. There are calls for the next governor to emerge from the Owerri area. Governor Rochas Okorocha described those agitating for zoning as very foolish, in his own words, educated, illiterate, and clannish. And the era of zoning in the state is over. What's your take on zoning?
I will certainly not describe it as that. Absolutely, I respect equity, fairness. Absolutely. I think that because of the level we are in Nigeria, in Africa, in Imo State, we should give chance to everybody to participate. But at the moment, I think we're in crisis, fiscal crisis, generational crisis. We should get the best man to fix this job. If we fix this job, we can find a way to accommodate everyone on the game. If you have a good leader, he can bring everyone into the game, and that cry and call can diminish a bit.
So juxtaposing it with federal character too, you would rather want competent hands than to have a... I mean, we're approaching 60 years post-independence.
Absolutely, and even in private sector, we have what you call diversity and inclusion.
True.
We play that. You know, you have to bring people from different... And in every local government in Imo State, we do have very good people.
But you say because of the clear and present crisis, generational crisis, that you say we should...
No, you can find great people from every zone, from every local government.
Fantastic. You just preempted my question. I was going to ask you, how do you get foreign direct investment to Imo State, looking at the dire need for unemployment and the economic activities to kick off?
I think the first thing is diaspora. Imo diaspora is huge. That's something I used to say when I compare Imo diaspora with Anambra diaspora, and people used to laugh. I said, Anambra diaspora send money to build industries and build massive markets. That's what they do in Nnewi and Onitsha. Imo diaspora send money for enjoyment. They call it in quotes, hotels and stuff, which is good. So what I'm going to do, I get Imo diaspora to send money for investment so that money can multiply and their cousins will have jobs. And when that happens, those hotels will be better optimized. You know, so those are some of the stuff that we can pick up.
Fantastic. Your Imo State internally generated revenue for last year, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, it's a meager 6.8 billion, and I say that with all sense of modesty, because 6.8 billion compared to what the other states are generating is mega. There's a clear backlog of salaries and pensions.
That's right.
How do you plan to increase the internally generated revenue of Imo State and also address the issue of workers' salaries and pensions?
Brilliant. Yeah, I think first IGR will be an outcome of actions we take. The big Imo makes 500 million a month from IGR. At some point, we're making 1.4 billion. Yes, if you go back 2008-9, we were actually up to 1.3, 1.4 billion. Then it declined. Why did it decline? The business is shut down. And then the structure to collect the money was a mess. The first thing I do is simplify that. Make it easy for people to pay, but they pay into a bank. They pay to a central source. So we're not going to have 40 consultants. We're going to have one. And there'll be a central POS.
To streamline.
In terms of IGR, Imo State may well make up to 3-4 billion a month. But there are too many interests collecting the money. So what we do...
Can you shed more light on the interest?
Yeah, I think the interest, you know, sometimes politicians, because of lack of understanding, can take things too far. We want to raise IGR, so we ask people to pay in 1 billion every month, then collect whatever you want. What they do, they go out with touts to... I had a retail outlet in Owerri. I shut it down. Every day I get a bill. So I said, how many bills am I going to pay? There was no transparency. So the first thing I do, what do people need to pay? And we write to you formally. And you know, the telephone actually is a big tool. If I can get businesses in Imo and I have your telephone number, I can send them the IGR and a bank account over their phone. We can go the legal way to collect money from people who don't pay, but not to go with touts. Because what you do, you discourage business, IGR goes further down. But the key thing is, without industries providing jobs for our people, when people live off handouts from their brothers in Lagos or US or something, you're not going to generate. IGR is the outcome of productivity. True. So I want to raise more productivity, and then IGR can spring from that. That's a plan.
Now, finally, in your book, written in 2012, Another Perspective, you said, and I quote, "Everything begins and ends with leadership."
Absolutely.
This gives a fatal judgment of the kind of leaders we've produced in Nigeria and Imo State. What sets you apart from the other contestants, and why should people trust you to be the next governor of Imo State?
I think very simple. I actually said in one of my interviews, I bring something. I bring clear understanding of the issues. Very clear. Imo is in fiscal crisis. It's in a generational crisis. So the issues of today could drag on for the next 50 years in Imo State. That's the issue. Imo is like a kid who makes 50 naira and wants to buy its chicken. It feels like eating chicken, right? It's nothing wrong with that. But he has 50 naira and he wants to have a whole chicken. And a whole chicken is 2,000 bucks, okay? Imo has choice to make, and you can have chicken still with 50 naira. You can buy Indomie chicken or buy Maggi chicken. That's chicken. Or you go and deposit 50 naira and look for 1,950. Imo needs creative solutions to its problems. You know, we make 6 billion every month, including what we make out of Abuja, everything put together. But we do need to pay 10 billion out. How do you make 10 billion if the state is not productive? I've studied it. Imo owes 100 billion and 63 million US dollars. That's 27 billion judgment debt. And there are salaries unpaid, about 7 months backlog, pensions hanging. Whoever gets into that house, if you're not prepared to understand how to restructure
it's not a pretty
loans,
situation.
You're going to get into crisis. If we don't create jobs for people, in Imo State, you have first-class mechanical engineering riding a bike in a village. That's danger waiting to happen. So how do we turn this to opportunity? You can, and I think we can. Imo has lots of, you know, we spoke about IGR. Look at hotels in Owerri, 1,300 rooms. The last count, I did a research in February with my team, 1,300. But charging 12, 15,000 a night doesn't keep a hotel. It cannot pay its bills. It's a question of 4 years they die. What do? We want to transform Imo from hotel city to hospitality, conferencing, entertainment city. That's where the value is. So people come into Imo for conferences and they can pay decent amount, and then the hotels are productive. When they are productive, they pay better taxes to Imo State. At the moment, they don't make money. At the moment, they cannot pay their staff.
It's a win-win situation for everyone.
Absolutely. So we want Imo to be more productive. And I'm going to apply very simple solution on roads. I said we're not going to tie any new road. Imo has about 280,000 vehicles within it. As of November last year, I think it's going down. Now we're not buying new vehicles. How many roads do we need? How many kilometers of roads do we need? Do we resurface what we have and move on? So why build new roads when you don't have decent schools? Imo has class size of 1 to 60. UNESCO says 1 to 20. So we need 3 times the number of teachers. We cannot pay, so digital education is the answer. We have doctor-patient ratio of 1 to 7,000. WHO says 1 to 600. You cannot deliver Medicare, so go preventive Medicare. Vaccination, deal with that. So those are the solutions I bring that are different. So I'm not going to come and say we're going to tar all the roads. No, we're going to do basic things to improve quality of life and move life expectancy and everything else that will fall in. That's the plan we have.
Mr. Chidi Okoro, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
More legal troubles for the dancing senator, Senator Demola Adeleke. Who once famously declared that although he dances, is also a deep thinker. The senator right now will be thinking about his legal woes as yet again 2 People's Democratic Party members in Osun State have filed a suit at an Osogbo High Court challenging his candidacy. Senator Ademola Adeleke as the flag bearer of the PDP in the upcoming September 22nd governorship election. The suit filed on Monday by Mr. Oyetunji Suredi and Mr. Olagboye Adedamola is coming on the heels of Justice David Oladimeji's judgment which dismissed a similar suit against Senator Adeleke. The suit dismissed by Justice Oladimeji was filed by Rashid Olabayo and Oluwaseun Idowu. In the fresh suit, the plaintiffs are seeking an interlocutory injunction restraining Senator Ademola Adeleke from parading himself as a candidate of the Osun PDP over alleged forged school certificate. They're also asking the court to make an order to restrain the state party chairman and the Independent National Electoral Commission from further recognizing the defendant as the candidate of the party. The duo are further seeking an order mandating the party chairman and INEC to replace Senator Adeleke's name with that of Akin Ogunbiyi, the runner-up in the primaries, and no date has yet been fixed for the hearing. And finally, in Uganda, after 10 days in military custody, frail, sickly Ugandan Member of Parliament and singer Bobby Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyangulanyi, was released after court-martial charges against him were dropped, but rearrested by police and charged by a magistrate court, which remanded him until the 30th of August. Now you know what catch, release, catch means. His lawyers say he has been assaulted in detention, which the military and President Yoweri Museveni deny. He was detained along with 30 others ahead of last week's by-elections in the northwestern town of Arua. The arrests have raised tensions across the country and sparked protests. Police have sealed off homes of a number of opposition politicians, and high-profile opposition figure Kizza Besigye has been arrested in the capital, Kampala. See you next time on Politics with GA. I am Gbenga Aborowa. The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter.